I'll just introduce briefly the festival. You probably, read about it, but so we are concentrating and focusing on diversity. And especially during lockdown, we started doing all this Cineclub, and for some reason, all the Scandinavian embassies gave us lots of support, and so we've been basically showing lots of films from Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and also from Iceland, from all the Nordic countries, and it's been fascinating because really the way I see cinema, it's each culture they got their own kind of not stereotypes, so they got their own symbols, they got their own way of reacting, way that reach out to stories. The narrative is completely different. So I was very intrigued by your film, first of all because I know it took so long to make. I mean, how many years did you actually?
What was it in all? Was it like 4 years maybe in all, or 5, or? I mean,
I think, more about, maybe 5 years from the idea, but it was 4 years of like continuous work, 2 years with the script. And
I think it was like 7 babies getting born during this time. Like the set designer got a baby, the 2 act like Isabel and the MIMA robe got children, and we got a child. So like, life went on. We were still on board ANIARA.
Good. No, because it's such a big project. I'm really, really just very happy to present the film, and I really congratulate you for being so resilient, because you really went through a lot. I mean, I guess that, I just wanted to know also a bit about the budget, and then we'll get to the content. Because, so how did you get the financing for the film?
It was through the Swedish Film Institute, like that they were the base, and then what I almost don't remember anymore.
No, it was like some regions, as it often is in Sweden, like some regional funding and a bit of media funding, just a small amount, I think like 50,000 euros or something like that.
And then from Eddie Moretti from Vice, he's had a new company called Unbranded Pictures. He helped a lot, and he also actually helped us in the end to finish the film, where he said like we could do a lot of reshoots with his money. So some part of this film is actually shot in our living room, and we have like, that was maybe my favorite part of the whole project, where we started to kind of use different smaller locations, and we went to my dad's law firm and we shot this whole scene there, and we went to the toilets in this big designer shopping mall, and we did some scenes there too. So
no, this is really amazing, because I have to say that you really can't tell. I mean, it really looks gold, completely. I mean, it's just a proper science fiction movie with, of course, lots of human insights, and that what makes it really different from many science fiction movies. First of all, because you started the film from a poem, right? From a very, very famous Swedish poem.
Very, very famous, and it's been like many theater plays versions of it, and we actually got, or like I got the idea to, I mean, I was very close to my grandmother when growing up, and we went and we saw a theater version of ANIARA, and in the evening or in the night she had a severe stroke, and she ended up in a hospital. And as she was getting better, we started to role play this poem, because I was starting to read it to her, like sitting next to her, and we pretended that the hospital, that was the big spacecraft, and that all the doctors, they were the crew, and then the patients were the passengers, and that's where like the poem really got to me, like, wow, this is like, we're all on board ANIARA, even like as passengers on Earth or in this hospital. Like, it's really about life and death, and it was.
No, I think imagination really can save us, and especially right now. I think that it's incredible, the fact that the film came out last year, right? 2020 or 20?
No, it came out it's screened in Toronto 2018, and then it was screened in, and then the premiere in Sweden was 2019.
Okay, yeah. So prior to COVID times,
Yeah.
pandemic. So, but it's so even more, current affairs right now. I mean, it's really like something that, it's related. We can relate even more now because of what's happening. People are living isolated. They don't know what to do. They lose faith. They've got mental issues. Everything that you went through in the film. So it's so just, just right in the moment. So what do you feel about that? So this poem basically can adapt to all kind of situation and the film as well.
Yeah, I think it was written like in the 50s, and then it was a different kind of disaster that Harry Martinson was afraid of. It was just after the hydrogen bombs had exploded, and the threat of nuclear bombs were really like on everyone's mind. So it's really interesting that, as you say, now it's the pandemic, but when we started making the film, then it was like climate change was, of course, and it still is a big topic, but now the pandemic has, for a short time at least, overtaken that. So maybe it's very universal in that sense, I think.
It is very much so. Also because what was it, last month they started to launch the Mars probe. They sent it Perseverance. Is that what it's called? And so again, it's like you come back and you add up, another layer to your story. The fact that now people are really thinking of going back to Mars. Elon Musk, the millionaire, he wants to invest money for space travel. So there are lots of different stories that kind of interconnect in the movie. But tell me a bit about the, how you choose the actors, because I think Emily, she's great. She's just so perfect for the role.
She was actually a close friend of us. She's this like multi-talent. She's she's a dancer, but then she was also a great singer. So she has like sang a cappella at the Nobel Prize ceremony here in Stockholm too. And we worked with her before. So we basically wrote the script with her in mind, but we forgot to tell her that. So she like didn't know that this was all planned for her. And then in the end, I think we casted a few other actors or actresses just to have done it, but we always knew that this part was for her, because in the book it's not 100% clear if the main character, like the MIMA role, if it's a female or a man or a woman, but we really wanted her to be a woman.
Yeah,
we wanted it to be Emily.
Sure. Yeah. And also the fact that this MIMA robe, this virtual reality that you created is just so, again, it's so related to today's experience that we have, because we use so much more virtual reality because of the pandemic, but even before then, it's like that's where we are at right at the moment. And so it's really it's very captivating, it's very endearing, the fact that you can get into a room and just kind of dive into it, immerse yourself and become a different person. So how did you work? How did you manage to create that kind of experience?
That I think was actually the only part where we kind of changed the vision, like because it was written in the 50s, and Harry Martinson basically described the MIMA as like different TV screens or screens, and we realized that today this would not really amaze people that much, so we had to create something where also the MIMA had a mission, something that she could do inside this space. So we created this version of almost like yoga mixed with religion, mixed with virtual reality, and then we also chose to put it in the ceiling, just because it's as less expensive. We had to do less green screen by putting it up there instead of having this green screen all around them. If we wanted to, we had ideas of making it a wall from the beginning, like James Turrell inspired. That was basically.
I don't think it was only a budget choice with the ceiling. I think it was also like a design choice. It was a long process though. Yeah.
Yeah, because you did lots of scenes where outdoors, right? So you had to mix the outdoor scenes and then put them in, you know, kind of virtual reality and put them back into the film, right? So it was like two different kind of layers that you had to mix.
It's also really hard to find a balance in the this idyllic nature images that we see that the MIMA robe is in, and like how we presented those. We did a few tries when it was like too sentimental or didn't feel right at all. So it was hard to find a balance in that.
We ended up shooting just like the DP, the director of photography. She lives in the south of Sweden, and that waterfall is just around the corner from her. So then we were like also just a mini team. It was you and I and the DP and the MIMA rope. So we were a really small team then.
Sure. Yeah. No, I guess so. But yeah, there's definitely a beautiful scene that set the pace for the film, and I have to say that you know the MIMA rope, the MR, whatever it's called, you know, the initials. She's a very positive character in the film. Is very, you know, incredibly outgoing, you know, always trying to you know, go out of her way, you know, to reach out and to be, again, you know, a positive person. But the film, it's very bleak. The film is very dark, you know. So she's basically the only one, because the captain acts like a, you know, a real proper boss, like a mafia boss or something like that. And of course, you know, all the pilots, you know, the other woman, you know, she's definitely a very dark character. So how did you mix the two? How did you manage to, you know, work it out?
I think we was quite literal to the book when it came to the MIMA robe, because she's like this very optimistic person, and she's also described as sort of a mix between an engineer and a priest in a way. That's what you can take out of the text at least, and she's also clearly some sort of, or we saw her as an addictive. How do you call it? An addictive personality. She's addicted to like sex and drugs, and also to this like. I think what's bleak in the story is also that the MIMA robe's like optimism is also part of the. She's part of the problem that actually put the humanity in the seat they are in, because she's like always trying to find solutions, but it's like technical solutions, and also trying to hide away from the issues. So she's like, an interesting thing with it is that the captain is really not the antagonist in a way. The antagonists are more of Isagel and the astronomer, because they are like the cynics, because it's basically a story of hope and despair. So the captain and the MIMA robe are really like on a deeper level working on the same agenda. Like
they're hoping that they will find solutions.
Yeah.
Or is that way?
Yeah, you're right. Yes. And now that I can see your point of view. It's true. I mean, they really want to go ahead. You know, they said, oh, let's put, you know, a foot in front of the other and we'll get there. And instead, it's to the scientist. She's definitely very cynical, and it's her point of view. It's a very good counterbalance. You know, it's a very good contrast to everything. Whenever she talks, she says the truth, basically.
Yeah.
Hide.
And she has most of Harry Martinson's language also. Part of her writing the poems, those are literally his words, but also she's very close to the voice of him in the book or in the poem.
This type of writing.
Yeah.
No, that's also. So were you you wanted to really follow the poem all the way through, and the poem, it's very, you know, dramatic or even tragic. So did you ever thought of changing the ending, or of you know, taking another path, or anything that would just kind of.
I think that was actually the only, like, because we got in touch with Harry Martinson's two daughters when we got the idea, or that we wanted to develop this into a movie, and they said that we could not change the ending. I mean, we didn't want to either, but that was their only, like, you can't change the ending. But we know since that Harry Martinson actually once wrote a more happier ending where they are landing on a different planet, but he also he chose this ending, you know, this was the ending that he had in mind, or like that he wanted in the end.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the ending of all of us. So it's very truthfully.
Yeah, no, but it's very hard to accept. Definitely, it's not something that it's very easy, especially because as you know, as when the people were leaving and saying, "Oh, say bye to Earth," you know, because you're never, you know, you're not going to see it very soon, and you know, so it's all the hopeful. You know, that's what human beings are. You know, I mean, we're in a pandemic and we're still, you know, hoping yes, it's going to end. You know, get vaccinated, no problem. Yeah, so yeah, that's the way we work. You know, we try to totally adapt to all kind of situation. Yes.
We pitched it in Hollywood once, and the agents said like, listen to the end of the story, like we're like yes, and then we told him the ending, and he said, no, one survives. We're like, okay, we will not make it, you know.
Hollywood.
That your film is definitely not Hollywood, and it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. We only show independent films, and we're just so chuffed to just be able to you know, to work with independent filmmakers and to show another perspective, because you know, we know what Hollywood does. You know, they just repeat the same kind of format, the same kind of stories. You know, it's very predictable. Instead, your film, I really felt was, you know, even I haven't read the poem before, but you know, even if you were following the poem, I think the imagery and the you know, all the sets and everything, it's just been very inspiring. Very inspiring. And now that you were telling me that you did use your house, your living room, and the shopping center, so it's like it's even more valuable, the fact that you really had to overcome so many obstacles, you know, to actually portray and to show your own you know, ideas, you know, on philosophy. So yeah, the poem, I think it really was talking a lot about consumerism, right? You know, this shopping addiction people had. So how you know, how did you show that in the film? How did you manage to?
I think actually the poem doesn't speak so much about that. So that's a way we put in the consumerism. How would it look today, the spacecraft, and we were thinking about the like old America boats going from Sweden, where you like then you didn't have the tax-free and the shops on board of the ship, but you had it like in the port,
in the harbor, so everyone had lost all their money when they already entered the boat.
Yeah, and now of course. So we thought of this like Ryanair approach to it. How would it be financed to get over there? And it would be partly by shopping.
But he speaks about, like Harry Martinson speaks a lot about like how the human race is destroying itself, that it's just want more and more. In that sense, it speaks about consumerism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, of course.
On a philosophical level, but maybe not shopping as in a shopping mall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing that I've noticed that you know, I just wanted to ask you about, it's the fact that the people that you show at the very beginning, which you know, they're just people that just boarded a spaceship, you know, to be in for 2-3 weeks. After 2 years, they look pretty much the same. And after 4 years, they still look, but not only looking, because looking, I mean, we know, I mean, now it's not a question of age, or, you know, people don't age that much, but the clothing, makeup, I mean, everything looks the same. And that's the only thing that I was just wondering about, you know, because actually they do, I mean, especially with the fact that they don't have all the comforts and, you know, all the, you know, the things that they really had at the very start, you know, because things are just reducing and they're just what would you
we
would be blaming the budget, right?
Yeah, but also partly the budget, because we had when we started writing it, we had of course ideas that they were going to age in a different way, and we actually
how do you mean age?
No, that it would be like more what do you call it, how fast the ship would degenerate, and the slitage, what do you call it, like the decay. The decay, and but also it's also a balance. It's also balance, because we talked about they will try to remain a facade as long as it's possible, and it's a premise of the story, and also like the mechanics of the ship. It's so huge, you know, it's like 4 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide. It has place for an immensely amount of stuff, so it wouldn't run out of it like in a lot of years. And it also has to be a self-sustainable system, and in order to be able to make the premise of this, like it could be a generation ship. The physical, basically like this, the physical challenges they meet are much less than the mental issues of like being stuck in space for such a long time. That's
also, you mean like they could have survived for like millions of years. I mean, now the human race haven't lived for how long, like 400,000 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah. But at the same time, I felt that, you know, it's like usually when you know that you're stuck someplace, like, you know, when you're stuck in pandemic, you're stuck at home, you know, just lose a bit control, you know, you don't, you know, you become a bit scruffy, you don't dress up anymore, you don't shave, you don't brush your hair. That's what I was thinking, you know, that they always look pretty much the same. Only at the very end, when they become a sect. There's so few of them, then you really see the difference. But before, it was like, you know, it just looked like, you know, they were just becoming some replicants, you know.
Maybe it's that's a valid criticism.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's the only thing that struck me while I was watching the film. So let's go back a bit to the ending, because I really want to know a bit more how you worked on that, because it must have been really difficult, you know, to you know, the scene with you know, that it's probably the worst scene with the baby and the lover of you know, MR, and so yeah, if you want to, you know, if we can describe a bit how you work on that.
Yeah, the scene with Isabel like killing the child.
Yeah,
that's also a bit different from the poem, because in the poem Isabel's child, she has a child, but it's more she's like a mathematical genius and has like this inspiring idea that will live and die with her, and there's another character that has a child that dies. Now maybe I'm talking about the adaptation too much, but so we put those together, because what Isabel is doing in the book is she's trying to like steer the whole ship into like a blackened sun, or blackened sun, what do you call it? And sun,
black hole?
No, it's not black hole. It's a sun that's not burning anymore. But that's we wanted to have like a realistic space that they are traveling in, and then of course there wouldn't be any planets or such obstacles on the way. So we put that together. But now I kind of I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, I think that the answer to it was that it was very rough to film that scene, and I think we were then, because we shot a lot on location, so we were at that time on a Scandinavian ferry, and I think it was day 3 or 4. We've been going back and forth between Stockholm and Helsinki, and it had been kind of storm, and we were exhausted, and then we shot this scene, and a lot of us were actually crying and stuff, and yeah, so it was harsh, but also I think that whole experience being on this ferry and shooting on location and being so tired of the buffet was also like a live action role play, like we were again like living on board this ship that but that the thing is that ANIARA is everywhere. It's on this it's in this hospital, it's on this Scandinavian ferry, it's in the pandemic, like that. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. So it's really like parallel world, you know. It's like you were really, it's true. I mean, you were portraying life as it was, but then it became also as it was in ANIARA, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it must have been really difficult at times, you know, to cope with everything.
I think Hugo, I know you lost like half of your hair, and finally it's starting to grow back. Now it's just like
that's when
Had to become a hat guy.
Stress. Oh yeah, yeah. I know stress could be. Yeah, it is. And as I said, you really embarked yourself in a very big adventure, and you managed to get through. So really, I mean, I'm absolutely in awe of the fact that you made it, and it's a beautiful film. So yeah, absolutely. Congratulations for this. Do you have any other project you're working at the moment? After you finish the film?
I mean, we were we have made one film each that are supposed to depict Sweden in 100 years, so in the future. So I made this underwater world where basically saying that even if, I mean, it's interesting that our emotions, they don't really age. Like it's like being young, you still have this despair and hope and love. So even if you're 100 years in the future, I guess that would be maybe a little bit the same. And you've done this AI story about Sweden being
as the first country in the world, Sweden has given over government to an AI and has become like this blooming economy. Yeah,
I think we're both in a way still in the science fiction world. This what's his name, Harari, the writer, he has said that this is the most important genre today because it really deals with the big questions we're surrounded by at the moment. So it's a good art form to explore. I mean, I didn't come from, I've been to art school and not been to, you come from
more traditional film school,
yeah, and also live action role play like Dungeons and Dragons and this whole thing. And I haven't realized how much science fiction is about philosophy. Like this is really about asking the questions, not knowing the answers, but like at least asking the questions.
Sure. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about your background. I mean, both of you, whoever wants to start first. I know that you used to make lots of shorts, basically started with shorts and documentaries. So do you want to?
I started to, I thought I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker, and then I ended up at the Royal Academy of Art in Stockholm, and then I tried to do a lot of art, but I met Hugo also and started to make films together. I mean, yeah. I was in psychoanalysis too. That formed me a lot, how, yeah, like the brain. What do you say? Sorry, I was losing my train of thought.
No, but we have different backgrounds on how we came to filmmaking, certainly. And I have, as Pella mentioned, a background not in live action role-playing game, but role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. I spent a lot of time doing really intricate stories in that world, and then I realized I had to try to finish some studies in cognitive science, but wasn't interested in the academic work. So then I realized maybe I should work with my stories instead. But we have also been working for 12 years together. So we wrote I'm Living together and then made some other shorts together. And so it's nowadays, I think our different backgrounds has really blended together in this. And I think you see that in ANIARA, and it's really hard to tell whose ideas is whose anymore.
No, but this is really fascinating because to be a creative couple, it must be not easy in the sense that you live together, you work together. So again, you have to strike a balance between personal and professional. But then, of course, I guess the professional life kind of especially while you're shooting a film, becomes your life, right? So how do you manage that? Do you find it difficult?
No, I enjoy it, I must say, most of the time. And it also, I think we don't really separate. I mean, maybe now more so when we have a kid, he forces us to really focus on him, of course, which we want to do. But I also think I think a lot about the French word amateur. like that comes from French amour, that you do this because you love it. So I think we're in a sense still amateurs. We do this because we love doing this. So then it's almost like a hobby then. You know what I mean? Like it really blurs. So it's not really work and not work. We just like have no boundaries in that sense. And I think it's important, like we're trying to keep, like to still be amateurs to be an amateur for the rest of your life. That's a hard thing, but something we're striving.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that, you know, if you keep that passion inside, you know, that kind of fire that, you know, will just light up, and then you want to make more, you know, you want to really achieve different things, you know, not greater, but, you know, different. And I think it's great. Totally. Yes. So when you think, are you ready with the new screenplay, or are you still working on the screenplay?
We're working, but getting ready. We're getting ready on 2 different feature films.
Okay. So are you going to start to shoot this year or next year?
Probably next year.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because now there's so many restrictions, and yeah, it's just definitely you want to start on a good side, and then at least, you know, ANIARA it's you know, you've done it, it's in the past, so you can just work already from a good platform. You know, you created already, you know, a good you know, experience out of that.
This was so nice speaking to you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, really, for me too. You're a great couple. I really admire you a lot. Continue like this. Go strong.
Likewise.
Thank you very much, and yeah, just keep on working. Bye now.
Bye-bye.